Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, everyone. Hello, how are you?
Good. Great. Outstanding. Ooh. How is everyone here today? Let us know in the comments. Let us know where you're tuning in from. I got my little handy dandy. There we go. Where in the world are you joining us from? You
Right
are
here now.
tuning in. What?
We're right here now.
Right here. We're right here and now. You are tuning in to a brand new episode of Thanks.
Thanks for nothing.
We'll get that right.
I know.
You're tuning into a brand new episode of Thanks for Nothing. I am your hostess with the mostest. I'll explain why I look like this. Shari Denise, and the beautiful lady sitting next to me, who's also the hostess with the mostest, is our
Denise Pomerting.
If this is your first time watching us, let us know. You are in for an absolute treat. I would actually say a fun ride.
Oh, absolutely. Because we're doing nothing. We're not talking about nothing, nowhere at all. It's not going to make any sense, but yet it will. It's like we're going to be living in a paradox today.
I feel like we're always living in a paradox. These are my conversations with Denise. I told her this morning. I mean, I just told her recently before we went on air. I was getting dressed, I was putting my makeup on, and I was doing my usual, which means singing to myself, talking to myself, having conversations. But the conversation changed a little bit today because as I was observing myself and saying out loud, "You look like a cuckoo bird," I heard Denise on the other side of my shoulder going, "Maybe you are the cuckoo bird." So I found that amusing. If this is your first time tuning in, meet Denise. Bradley, good morning. Great to see you.
How are ya?
So today, we're going to have some fun with you, right?
Yes. Well, we
Let
do that
everybody
all.
know a little bit about what's going to happen today.
I have no idea what's going to happen today. Do you have any idea what's going to? I have nothing for you. Nothing.
Well, we had a plan,
and then I got 4 or 5 steps to nothing, so that you can manifest nothing better than you've ever done before.
How about that? Yeah. And that explains. Let me take this off. Why I'm completely dressed up. It is a special occasion because today, you, me, Denise, all of us, we are getting our wishes fulfilled today.
Yeah. Yep. Well, and the realization that you get your wishes fulfilled every second of every day, just most people are wishing for what they don't want instead of what they do.
Say that again.
Yes. You're always getting what you're focused on, but most people focus on the not having it, the not wanting it. Why is it this way? What a big thing that I hear often is, my entire life, how did I end up here? I thought I'd be further. And when you realize that mind that's leading it, that's the mind that never gets satisfied. So it's getting the manifestation of not getting what it wants, getting what it wants. The not getting it is what it wants, right? So you're living this beautiful paradox.
And it always is, yes. It's like, why aren't I getting what I want? As I'm busy focusing on not getting what I want to continually get what I want. That's what I hear you saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. So now we're going to use steps to get nothing. Because nothing should be what you want, but nothing's everything.
Nothing is everything.
Right. Yes.
You said to me recently, which I loved, as we were discussing the topic or the name of this show, and I asked you your meaning about really thanks for nothing. And you talked about detachment and the gratitude of detachment. And that really resonated with me because I know everybody has their own probably definition of what nothing is. And some people think it's just a play on words and we're being like, hey, thanks for nothing, which we probably are. Yeah. But there's other sides to that coin, right?
Yes. And you know, here's the thing that in really pointing out the difference between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. So I get asked often the difference between gratitude and appreciation. And again, they are the same, two sides to the same coin. In one is in the moment and the other is a reflection. So when you're in the moment, and we talked about subconscious is about the feels, it's about repetition, it's about ceremony. When you're feeling it as it's happening, that's appreciation. That is such a powerful manifesting energy where within 30 days using appreciation, you can manifest a whole different life. And then gratitude is the after the fact, after the incident is done, after the experience is over, that you look back in hindsight. It's not as powerful. It's still powerful, but not as powerful. So what you can do, instead of having the thought of gratitude, you can take the thought of gratitude and create a new experience of appreciation, even though that same experience is more just a imaginal act, which we're going to use today.
Okay. So you're saying that as gratitude, it's more of a hindsight. So looking back at gratitude, something you're grateful for that happened, then you're able to take that thing that happened, and then once you feel into it, that's appreciation.
Appreciation. And
Okay.
appreciation, because there's an in the conscious mind, if you're just the surface level repeating what happened, and there's no connection of the subconscious, that's why when you do conscious mind creation, there's a lot of steps and a lot of repetition, because that repetition eventually gets the attention of the subconscious mind. But if you take this one thing and then you bring it alive in the now moment, that's why the now is so powerful, and you bring that full feel of appreciation back. Now you've married the two minds together, and they can create manifestation a lot faster than the conscious mind repeating.
I love that.
Yeah.
And you're all going to experience that today. Is there anyone here that's watching with us right now, live or replay, that has practiced manifestation, that knows about it, that understands it, and what your experience maybe has been with it? We would love to hear that as Denise continues to share with us wherever she wants to go.
And think about this. It's in the beginning. Let's do a little story journey here. You were always manifesting 24/7, because that's where your focus. Hey, Raphael. Wonderful.
Hey, Raphael. Sorry, we got some comments coming in right now. So, oh, we got a question already. If you want to answer that now.
Grateful in advance. Again, it's really semantics between grateful and appreciation. You can be grateful in advance, but be appreciative in advance. So if I had to choose between gratitude and appreciation, I would always choose appreciation, because the feel is like pouring gasoline onto a fire, right? It amplifies it quicker. So if you want a slow manifestation time, then gratitude, right, is better than nothing. And it is still powerful. But if you're going to do it in advance, be appreciative, feel, assume the person, the version of you in the outcome, not the one waiting for the outcome to come. Because with gratitude, sometimes you can get caught in waiting, because you're not bringing in the feel within the physical body. So in the beginning, there's this story that you were born into, or you came into, and you could take it in your bigger portion of your life, or you can take it like, joining a new company and starting a new job, right? That if you look at a company that you've been hired, unless they just started that day, you were coming into an ongoing story that was there before you, and most likely will be there after you, right? So you get to jump in and participate in this company or this lifetime. So when you look at each day as there's no causality, so whatever happened yesterday doesn't matter. Whatever happened 5 minutes ago doesn't matter. It only has causality if your mind strings the events together. So you can cut the causality loop and decide consciously right here, right now, my creation of this, or the steps that we're going to give you, is the thing that will create the nothing that will then become the thing. Because you first got to create it and be thankful or appreciative in the nothing of it, other than the creation within yourself, and you're the only one that knows it, and you sit in that.
Can you explain what you mean by, you just said it and I already lost it, but about the nothing, in the appreciation of the nothing? When
I take you through the steps and the experience, it's going to be more very, very apparent.
Okay. I don't know why I have this feeling, and it could just be me, that some people are still hung up on the nothing, not really understanding.
Well, the nothing is the energy of it, right? So in the way I teach manifestation, you're in this bubble, and you're the only one in your bubble, right? I think of Pigpen from Charlie Brown with his little dust cloud. And in this bubble, 100% of everything that you may not even thought of things yet, they're in that bubble with you. Nobody can come into your bubble. Hey, Robert, how are you? Nobody can come into your bubble but you. So you're in this bubble, and let's say 5% is your physical manifested world already. And by the time you're looking at your physical manifested world, it's in the past. And it's really just a template. And then 15% is invisibly activated. It's the stuff that you put your attention on, whether you do some action toward it or your action is the imagination of it, right? And then 80% is invisible, unactivated. So it's your imagination, that 15%, that is more likely going to manifest into physical reality than the 80% that's inactive in your warehouse, in your bubble. But it's there. So if you're meant to bring in $220 million in this lifetime, that's there, plus more.
So
That's
it's like
why
it's like your own compartment of all your stuff.
yeah, you take your bubble everywhere you go.
Yeah.
And so the whole idea is to, if the 15% that's activated, if you're not liking what's showing up because you're not the star of your story, that's why you have to be the star. You can still be supporting characters in other people's story, but you have to be the star in your own. So this 15% activated is invisible, but it's the stuff that you keep going back to thinking about. You keep going back to thinking about. And this universe is a yes universe. So if you're thinking about what you don't want, then you're giving what you don't want more attention than the creation of the new. And sometimes when we get into the fourth and fifth step, just doing step 4 and 5 of the releasing of everything, you don't even have to go into the creation of the new thing because your higher self already has that for you. So really what we're doing here in manifesting is making sure that the 15% that is lit up, invisible still, that has the highest chance of becoming physically manifest is what you want.
Mm. So you have to be really clear on what it is that you want, because you can end up manifesting most things you don't want.
Right. And so the argument or the discussion of between should I go general or should I go specific?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you go general, then you have to understand if you really are thinking more specifically in your general and you think it's going to come a certain way, you may miss it in the way that it comes. So when you go general and you want more joy in your life, then you really have to go around that whole day and going, that was joyous, like acknowledging it,
Yeah.
right? Because you get more of what is on that menu. So if you're on the joy menu, it's the obvious things that bring you joy, but then you got to start finding the joy in the other things too. So we're going to go through those steps.
We got a question.
Yes. Well, here's the thing that I would say to that, Robert, is that you have to know what is your strongest manifestation. So for visual people, a vision board would be the perfect thing. But if you're more auditory, then it might be a song. It might be a soundbite that you make. It might be subliminal messaging that you create for yourself, right? If you're more feeling, then it might be going into the imaginal act and creating the feel within your body. So it all depends on you, and you'll know which way that you find your manifestations.
So what you're saying is there is no right or wrong way. It's whatever aligns almost with you or whatever makes you feel most in the feels.
Right. Because I've had clients in the past that have made vision boards, but because they're not visual people, they put it where they see it and wake it up, and subliminally they're seeing it, but it just becomes part of the noise in the room.
Okay.
Right. And that's where it's really cool that if you are a visual person, then you might want to expand into auditory or the feeling or olfactory, the smelling, or because there's so many other ways to add to the thing that you're the strongest. But when you're in a pinch, your strong one is always the one. Mm-hmm. Now, remember, in manifesting, the time between the creation of it, which we're going to do today, and it showing up is your belief in that it can happen, and that your conscious mind is safe in the realization of it. So if you're asking for something that would blow your mind and you have conscious minds that like to play it safe, it may take a little bit longer.
Okay.
Right?
Raphael.
So it says, it's like bamboo, full of nothing without any resistance. If you see a tree, don't see the forest. Not quite sure. We want the resistance, but we don't want to set up a zip code there.
Why do we want the resistance?
Well, it'll become more apparent as we do the exercise. Okay. Right? Yep. Okay.
All right. So
Okay.
everybody, just so you know that you're watching, today I'm going to be in the fun seat.
Yeah.
And in the future, as we do more of these, we would love for some of you to volunteer to be in the fun seat. But we would invite you in today's exercise. I'll let Denise talk more about it, but to join us. It's not just about watching me, although, you know,
He's trying to get out of the
I'm
hot
not
seat.
going under the
You
radar with
call
a
it the
shirt.
fun seat. I'm calling it the hot seat. But
What'd you say?
you're calling it the fun seat. Well, let's call it the hot fun seat.
I was trying to make them excited. I am not scared of it.
Okay. So
That's right.
here's the thing too about clarity, right? And that's really what the first step is. It's focus. Is, do you really know what you want? And it's if you think about business, when I've helped people in business and tell them to niche down and niche down and niche down till it hurts and get more specific and because they feel like if they get too specific, there's only going to be like 2 people on the whole planet that'll be open to what they're offering. But the more specific you get, the more aligned with it you are, the quicker it will come. Because when something else shows up, you'll know that it's not it, but it'll also show that your subconscious mind is still working through some other vibrations you had. And it's really just going, did I get it right here? Here's this. Did I get this right? Did I get this right? Is this what you wanted? Right? And the important thing is when you're doing specific manifestations, you do not accept the almost.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Because you're sending a sign to your subconscious that you don't believe you can have that thing. So if you are going to go specific, and I'll give an example. When I was house hunting, when I moved out of Philly to come out here in the suburbs, I had a list of what I wanted in the house. I had my first daughter. I was pregnant with my second. I had 3 dogs. So I must have a fenced in yard. That was not one that I could put one up later. And I even said to the real estate agent that became my friend, I said, I'm not even going to get out of your car. I don't care how nice the house is, that it's the best one ever. And all I have to do is put up a fence. I don't want a house without a fence. I don't care if it's, the mansion for $2. And lo and behold, she eventually took me to a house, went to the door, and I sat in the car. And she's like, no, you got it. I'm like, you don't understand. I'm serious about this. I'm not getting out of the car. Not even going to waste an ounce of energy. I'm sure it's the most beautiful house ever. Right? So that's how much you have to know what it is that you want. And when your subconscious needs you to get more specific, and I'll tell one other little story. Last year I was in Florida in September, and there was all these turtle nests. And one of my goals was to see one turtle go from the nest to the ocean. And we did get that opportunity where we were like, it's bodyguards curving on one side because there were some seagulls, and it was just about getting dark outside. So we kind of were, it's like bodyguards to the sea. So the other thing that I wanted, and I found certain types of shells and I found them all. And the one thing I wanted was a sand dollar. I wanted a sand dollar. And it was like the last morning we saw the sunrise, Kervin went back to eat, and I go for my walk and my run. And as I'm walking down this beach at the ocean's edge and people had walked right by me, I looked down into the sand right there, and there was a sandy dollar. So, and I pick it up and I go, you got jokes? You got jokes for me, right?
Totally.
But my subconscious mind was going, is this it? And that's where when you get an offering that's almost like it or some kind of little spin on it, you got to have fun with this. You can't take this seriously.
Yeah.
So I saw it as my subconscious going, here you go. Here's your sandy dollar.
Yeah. And I remember someone said, got to be specific. Just a quick reminder for those of you who are in the Facebook group, StreamYard doesn't show your names. So you actually have to, in the description, give permission to StreamYard, unless you want to be anonymous, which is totally fine. But I'd love to call you by your name, whatever that is today. So just really quickly, most people know that I'm manifesting. Well, it's already there. I'm just aligning with it right now, my own television show. And recently I was in Syracuse for a TEDx talk, and then I did, Good Day Rochester. And in my vision of always my talk show is, me on the couch. There's my big banner, my logo, the Shari Denise show. long story short, they did this great segment with me. And when I went back to, I didn't even notice what was behind me when I was doing the interview because I was just so engaged with them. When I watched it back on replay, the interview, there I was on the big yellow couch with my giant name behind me, the Shari Elise Show. Well, it said Shari Elise in my logo. And I was like, I looked at it and then I was like, oh my God, this is what you visioned, minus the fact that it's not your own show. So I was like more specific, but it was like I felt universally like I was like, that's good. That's good.
And that's where when you're in whatever you're in your current reality, and it's about accepting your current reality. You are where you are, but it's only temporary. It seems like it's forever. I mean, we're talking manifesting. You don't even have to stay in 2022. You could go back into 2016 when you realize that you're the one projecting all of this, right? But you, at least initially, people start manifesting things within the story they're in, and then they realize that it's more than just what they personally need or want, right? What good is never getting sick again if you live in a world that believes in sickness still? So then you have to up level to a world that there's no longer that. But you'll still see the residual of some other people in that world, right? So you have to learn to allow what is, and that's why we talked about last week, what's in your first, 3 feet right here, that's actually happening live, because in the now moment, that's where you're most powerful. Let it come in front of you. Let it challenge you. Yeah, retro manifestation. It's called revision. And revision is such a powerful thing. Just because you have a memory of something, we talked about this in the first week, you don't remember maybe 25% of really what happened. You can't tell line by line what you said and what everybody was wearing and where they stood at what second. But yet we give such weight to these old experiences like their Bible truth, right? Or that's how it is and that's how it was. When every time you go back into a memory, even just in general to share it, you're revising it. So if you can go back in, and this is what shamans do in like a soul retrieval, to see it from the outcome of the level that, because it not only was on the level you had it, but it's on 1,500 other levels higher, and even some even lower if you wanted to go and explore those. Why would you keep going back into the memory, especially if it wasn't for your benefit?
That is so powerful, because I know a lot of people, it's like that, going over, reliving it over and over and over again. And just what you said.
And if you won't let go of a negative memory, you're in a character that still gets benefit from being the victim or being powerless or whatever it is. You can't shout at something in your current reality and make it go away. That is giving it attention. You're saying more of this. I don't like this thing. This isn't fair. I don't want this anymore. Guess what? Set up a spot at dinner for whatever that is, because it's not going anywhere. Because you're the only one in your reality that's acknowledging it, right? So, ready for the cookie?
Yeah, I mean, I am dressed up for wishes fulfilled.
Okay. So, and we want everybody to do this along with, right? So step one.
Real quick, salary side note. If you all, I'm probably gonna have my eyes closed. So if anyone's leaving comments, just so you know, I will not be able to see them right now. And we would really invite everybody to do this along with us. Yes.
Because it's not about giving you the steps. It's not about, we can sit here and debate it and talk about it and get a PhD in it. But until you start doing the experience of it. Now, here's what I would say to you. What I'm doing today, I like to give at least 6 weeks.
Okay.
Because it takes now this can be done immediately if there is something real happening, because you can use this step to immediately manifest something, or you can have it just sort of show up in its time because you're now in love with the reality that you're starting this all in. So first and foremost, before we do anything, it's about accepting where you are, and that anything you see or interact with, it's already in the past. And you're not saying, I'm going to totally wipe out this reality. You're always going to bring the things that you love. The people that you love will be there. They're just going to start to show up differently. So you can't have any expectations of how people were in the past, because that keeps you on that level. So if there's somebody who's always angry and you're going to a more peaceful reality, then you have to see that they will be peaceful in that reality too. Right? So Acknowledge where you are. You're at the beginning of the race. You're at the starting line. You can't start a race without being at the starting line. And for a while, the reality is going to look like it does just right now. Right. So you're still going to, if you work or you have a business or you have a family to take care of, it's just when you go and do your ordinary everyday things, be an appreciation of them.
Of the things that
Especially,
you're wanting.
right. So let's say, for example, you're having to clean your bathroom, but in your new reality, you will have people that do that for you.
Mm-hmm.
So next time you have to go clean your bathroom, you're doing it so that when you do give the instructions to the people who are going to do it, then you know exactly how you want them to do it. Like you got to start rewriting the script of the thing that you're in now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you go in and you work for someone else and that's the kind of business you want, then before you walk in the building, see your name or your business name up top there.
The other day I was walking in the grocery store, because I know you mentioned this to me before, and I wear baseball caps a lot because, I wear wigs. And I had my mask on, whatever, indoors. And I was imagining that I was famous, but nobody knew that it was when I was grocery shopping and stuff like as that, because as we talked about that, and that was kind of fun.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's kind of what you're saying, right? Is my point of that.
And it's sort of like you hear it in business all the time, dress for the role that the position that you want, act like the position that you want, not the one that you're in. There's a difference between creating a new reality, looking of it and from it. So we want you to be in it, and you're pretending that while this other reality is burning off the residual, the echo of it, that this whole new reality, so that when it does show up, it's not going to be a shock for you. You'll be able to step right into it. Right? Okay. All right. So what we're going to do today, and we're going to use a chocolate chip cookie, but if you're not a fan of chocolate chip cookies, you can go all sugar cookie or oatmeal cookie or whatever heart desire cookie that you love. But not just a chocolate chip cookie, a hot chocolate chip cookie. Okay. So I want everybody, step one is focus. And in your mind's eye, you can do this with your eyes open or closed. It's whatever is best for you. And if you're not a visualizer, it's okay that you can't actually see it. But in your mind's eye, can you see your chocolate chip cookie? It could be big, it could be small. So I want you to see it on the table or wherever you are, where your chocolate chip cookie would be before you touch it. Right? So get focused. And when I say chocolate chip cookie, it's very detailed. It's not a sugar cookie. It's not a snickerdoodle. It's not a oatmeal cookie. That you know for sure this is, and whatever, if you decide to do a different cookie, whatever cookie you decide to do. So there's no doubt that you know what this is, and you would be able to acknowledge and realize it when it shows up. Okay. So that's the step one, is the focus, knowing exactly what it is that you want. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create an imaginal act. So whatever it is that you create your imaginal acts in, maybe you are visual, but if you're more sense, that olfactory where you can smell it, or maybe you're one who physically has to feel it in your hands or feel it in your mouth. We're going to walk through all the senses because we want to bring them in, but don't worry, you don't have to nail all 5 of them. Okay. So now I want you to see yourself, and you can even act it out in real time, reaching out, picking up the warm cookie. It's a warm, like fresh out of the oven, but it's okay for you to hold. It's not going to hurt your fingers. And I want you to grab it with the one hand and then hold it with both hands, but it's away from your mouth. And I want you to notice as you go to grab it, can you feel the cookie in your hand? Can you begin to start smelling that hot chocolate chip cookie? And just imagining how good it's going to taste. Now, when you know that you're starting to marry the two minds and that there is no fear here, you should be salivating right now. Because to the subconscious mind, it doesn't have to be a real physical cookie. The imagination is enough. And that's where you have to get your signal from your subconscious. Now, not all the time are you going to be imagining food.
I do already.
Okay. So now I want you to bring the cookie up to your lips. And you, again, you can physically act this out but you don't have to. It could just be all imagination, but some people like to act it out too. That's fine. There's no wrong way. This is how you decide to do it. That's important. And then I want you to slowly open your mouth, take a bite of the cookie, and just let it sit there on your tongue and feel the sensation of it in your mouth, the flavors that are just exploding on your tongue. And then slowly begin to chew. Do your process of slowly chewing and swallow the cookie. Now, in the imaginal act, you want to always go a little further. So we didn't stop when we saw the cookie. We didn't stop when we picked it up. We wanted to get a point of satisfaction, which was biting and swallowing it. Do you feel satisfied in the bite of that cookie, that it is real in your imagination, as real as it can get in your imagination? Because you have to acknowledge that you've received what it is that you've created. And this is where you're creating the nothing, because it's not physically here. So you say to yourself, I did it. I manifested a hot chocolate chip cookie, and I just had a bite of it, and it was delicious, and it feels satisfying. And this is so exciting. This is where you get excited over nothing, because it's not physically real. But your body's acting like it is. You're activating some of your senses. Your see it, taste it, touch it, hear it, smell it. And now you can finish the cookie, or you can put it down. Maybe you're not a person that takes and finishes it all at once. If you're someone in your nature that you'll put it down and then you'll pick it up later, honor your nature of how you do things. So the second step is creating the imaginal act. And really, this may seem a little bit more drawn out because we're talking about it, but when you go to do your imaginal act, it should be like 10 seconds, 15 seconds. It shouldn't be this, 5-minute thing. You always want to go after. So if you wanted to manifest winning the lottery, it wouldn't be when you saw the winning numbers on your ticket. It would be when the money was deposited in your account. It's that done deal, because there's a lot that can happen between the realizing of the numbers and the money getting there. So you want to pick something a little further after the finish line. That's why we didn't stop with just realizing the cookie was there. Okay, so the important thing about the second one is creating the imaginal act. You have to acknowledge you got what you asked for. You knew what it is, exactly what you wanted, and you got it. You got it because you created it, and it's nothing, but it's everything at the same time, and you're satisfied. Because satisfaction, the more you can go about your day of everything that you're doing, you just folded laundry, and it was the best laundry you ever folded, and you felt satisfied. Right? Finding the satisfaction in everything, because satisfaction is what you're going to have when your creations start to show up. So that's being in the appreciation ahead of time. So that was a perfect link into this. Okay, so now step 3 is, do you believe now that this hot chocolate chip cookie or whatever version that you picked will now show up in your life? So for step 3, this is where, if you're going to go into the past, you're going to pick something that happened that served you and satisfied you. Was there a time in your life where somebody showed up with a cookie for you? Because once you show the conscious mind, it's already happened. And maybe it didn't happen for you, but maybe you were somewhere and you saw it happen for someone else. That's just as powerful. Always within yourself first. But if you haven't had the direct experience of it, an indirect one of someone that you got to be the witness of works also. So do you believe it would? So give previous examples. Shari, give some previous examples right now of in your life where you've received a hot chocolate chip cookie. And, go ahead.
Well, when I've made them.
Right. And that counts also. You can give yourself a hot chocolate chip cookie.
Where I bought one.
Okay.
From the grocery store, freshly made.
Right. How else can a hot chocolate chip cookie show up?
I got one of those big ones for my birthday.
Yep. And you always want to start with, if there were events that happened in your life where you've already received something, the exact thing, or something very much like it, that counts. But don't worry if you haven't. That's okay too. Because then now, after you do a couple of how it happened in the past for you or for someone you know, now you can start creating new ways that this could show up that hasn't happened yet for you, which is, how else could this hot chocolate chip cookie?
A neighbor could come by and give me a plate.
Yeah. And you're usually going to start off with something very logical. But now I want you to get wild and crazy. How else can a hot chocolate chip cookie show up?
It rained from the sky cookies.
Rains from the cookie. Or you're sitting at a cafe and somebody walks by with a tray of them and they trip and one just pops right into your lap.
Okay, there's that. Yes.
Yeah. Or I just fly out to California for the purpose. The only purpose is to bring you a hot chocolate chip cookie. That can happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
I take a trip and the only thing the airline has is our cookies.
Hot chocolate chip cookies. I've had this happen where I've been out and a random person comes up to me and goes, I don't know why, but I feel this overwhelming urge. I have to give this to you.
Mm-hmm.
And they give me something so random, but yet something that I had asked for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can get one of those randomly from, like Amazon or wherever, like those fresh delivery of fresh cookies that I didn't order.
Is anyone sharing in the comments how their cookies are going to show up or have showed up in the
past? We got pizza. We've got it's raining chocolate chip cookies. That's what I imagine. And we got some hellos. Hello, Luana. Yeah, that's what we got. I think everyone's doing it along with us.
Okay, cool. Okay. So now that's really step 3 is, do you, and you don't even have to believe it. So do you believe it'll happen? And it's okay if you don't. But start giving supporting evidence, even if you saw it in a movie, even if you saw it in a TV show, because movies and TV shows are imaginal acts. You're watching an imaginal act. Everything that's, because the thing that you don't realize is that when you're awake during the day, this is an active dream. So when you're asleep at night, you're in the passive dreams, but this is the active dream. And when you become lucid in a dream in the now moment, you can change what's happening. So do you have any doubt between now and say next week when we do our next show? And when your chocolate chip cookies, I'm going to ask you, Shari, to post a picture of a chocolate chip cookie in the Joy Spot so that people can post their chocolate chip cookie stories when they start showing up.
Okay.
Yes, right. So we can have
now I got to get it. I'm already salivating. I want it.
Right. And that's the powerful thing. So do you believe it'll happen? Even if it's never happened before, why not you be the first person it ever happens to on the history of this entire planet? Why not you? Right. And that's something that I always say, that if it's something that hasn't happened yet, and it's something like, I wake up and there's a car in my driveway, but technically I came into the story where I bought that car 3 months ago, but to the me that did the revision, it's brand new. Mm-hmm. So those things have happened. That I am living proof that this stuff works, but I can tell you all the stories. I want you to have the experience of this. And it doesn't matter if it's a chocolate chip cookie or a BMW X5 or a Lamborghini or $100,000, because to the subconscious mind, it's just this or that. There's
not actual things too, right? Like
it could be relationships. It could be businesses. Let's say you have a YouTube channel and you want 10,000 followers. You could wake up tomorrow with 10,000 followers. But you can't look at the number that's on there now, because that's just the jump off reality. So if you're in your old reality and it hasn't changed yet, you're just still at the jump off point. And then here's the really cool thing about this. Once you do the imaginal act, you can go back in several times during the day and just do the 10, 15 second of the cookie. Or you can walk around and go, I'm not going to manifest it. I'm never going to manifest a chocolate chip cookie. That hot chocolate, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, because your subconscious mind doesn't know not. It doesn't know it's not going to. All it knows is you're focusing on chocolate chip cookie.
Right. Okay, so we're on step 3, right?
Yep, that's step 3.
People in here.
Right. Do do I believe it will happen? Now, steps 4, I said there was 4 steps, but there's a 4 and a 5, and they can be done together very quickly. 4 is releasing resistance. So you've just given all the reasons why in step 3 it's going to happen. But if you go about your day and it's really a topic that you want happening quickly, if you find yourself thinking about the opposite, it not being here, then you're still in resistance. So this is the part where you go, it's okay if it doesn't happen. It's okay. Because guess what? I'm still existing. I existed this long without it. So that's what 5 is, detaching. I don't need it. So it's okay for release resistance. It's okay if it doesn't happen. And 5, detachment, because I don't need it. I exist without it. Yes, it would be nice to have it, to have a different experience, but it's not needed for my survival. It's not needed for me to be happy. So in this moment, that's why I said, be happy with it not being here. And when you go through this process and then let it go about your day. But if you do want to go back in and eat the cookie again, you can have fun with that, or you can take the process. Now, the thing that I like to do, especially, I do a lot of little manifestations during the course of the day, and I keep track of when did I do it, when did I do the initial thing, and how quickly it shows up. And there's really no rhyme or reason as to, do cookies show up faster than money? Like, it's all based on how much attached and needing. Because what we said the other week was, there's needing, meaning that you need it for survival, which you don't. Take it from someone who does water fast. You don't even need food. I've gone 21 days without food. You don't even need food. So get out of survival mode. You don't need anything for survival. Look at you existing right now without all the other things that you think that you need.
That's so important for people to hear, because I know there's people already in the comments that are like, well, I need money, or I need this. And and we even got, can I manifest a husband? Tammy,
Yes.
my sister.
Yeah.
But important for people to hear that they're surviving right now in this now moment without those things.
So the moment that you don't need the husband is when the husband shows up. Because you're existing without them.
Lainey.
And this is the thing that I always say with Kervin and I. We don't need each other. We existed long before we found each other. We existed while we're together. And when you don't need anyone, they show up differently. We choose each other. That's huge, because whatever I think I need him for, I can do for myself, and vice versa. So we will say, I don't need you. It's like our version of I love you.
Thanks,
I don't need you.
thanks for nothing.
So yeah, and that's why 4 and 5, releasing the resistance, allowing the realities that it's not there. They're just as a viable reality as the ones that are, but you'll get stuck in one where it's not there if you focus on it not being there. That's why you want to keep yourself busy with other things that you enjoy, because once you've done this, once you've activated the 2 minds together, it is law. It must come to you. And when you start, if I go back into a manifestation where I've done the steps, and I'll be like, oh, what's another way it could show up? Oh, what's another way it could show up? But I can't tell you how many times that things have showed up in ways that I could never have imagined, but yet I was aware when it did. And sometimes it's after the fact, but it's still, you still realize it. It's still there.
Why do you think it is that people, do you think it's the need, the feeling that they need that survival that actually pushes what it is that they want away?
Yeah. The more needy you are, the longer it's going to take to manifest. That's just how it is.
And so for people who feel like, am I going to trick myself into not needing? What does that really look like? Is it just coming to peace with yourself? I'm trying to, speak how they might be thinking.
I like to give personal examples, and I have 5 kids. So every year at the change of the seasons, I'd have to go. So I have 4 girls, and my son was last. So we would go from top down because the clothes were hand-me-downs. And then after I got all the hand-me-downs done and we gave away bags of clothes that were no longer needed, we'd go and give them away. And I kid you not, within 3 days of giving away the clothes that we didn't need, there would be 4 or 5 bags on my front step, because some other mom with multiple kids that were older went through their process, gave them to me, knowing that I would pass them on to the other moms that had, right? So it's like I couldn't give away clothes without clothes coming back, and more clothes than I gave away.
Because once you also it sounds like once you stop needing something, you also open up space to receive, because you've taken out that like space of the need, and now you're open and more free. That's how I feel that right now.
Yeah. And there, you really don't need anything, because you are everything. You have it in your bubble. Remember, it's 5% manifested, 15% invisibly active, 80% invisibly inactive. So it's there. So what's there to need? If it's like, if it's saying in my house right now, I need eggs. Well, they're downstairs in my kitchen. I choose to eat eggs is very different than I need eggs.
And isn't it also knowing that the eggs are there? So there's that same knowingness that we could have about everything. I already know that this is there.
Yeah.
Not like I'm looking and I'm desiring. You just have this knowingness that it's the done deal. And maybe it's, I don't want to say maybe, but it's the alignment with knowing that it's there is going to create that being there.
And how you know you're going to the next level of manifestation is you'll leave a room and you'll come back in and the lights are on, and you know that you didn't turn the lights on, and there's no one else in the house that turned on the lights. Like because your subconscious mind is checking to see, can you acknowledge that as a manifestation without it freaking you out? And then also without you going on a journey to find out how it happened. Let go of, don't worry about the how. You don't need to know the how. You just need to know that it's done. Yes, I will repeat the manifestation steps. So
before you, oh, good.
Okay.
Finish your
So it's really important to, this is fun. And I will tell you, in all my years of doing this, and you've been doing this since you were younger, and I've been doing this, you just don't realize you were doing, this is what was going on. So this is why and there's always going to be offerings of old levels, because the old level doesn't want to die out. So when the news is this, and when this person did you hear this story? And I'm like, la, 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 nope. It's allowed to be, but it's not active here. And even when I worked with clients before, if they were coming to me for a really big change, I would have them handwrite a letter to themselves. We'd seal it in an envelope. They'd sign the back of it along the crease. I'd sign it, because I knew that the change was going to be so significant, they would forget why they came to me. And it says on the envelope, they wrote a little thing, in here is the reason why you came to work with Denise, but if you open this up, you will reactivate the thing that is no longer. So if she says it's not in your life, I'm not messing with you. This is really something that we've eliminated for you.
Yeah.
Like, that's how powerful this is. So Rich asked me to repeat the steps.
Yes.
So this is something, again, you could be caught in an airport and it doesn't look like you're going to make your flight, or it could be something that I say give it 6 weeks. Right? So it can be done short term when you need it, and it can be long term when you just want things to start coming in. And that's how you know that you're trusting that you don't need it to be tomorrow, because when you try to dictate the time frame, then you're going to trip yourself up and you're going to go looping, and you don't want to do that. So giving it a nice 6-week buffer and knowing that it will smack you upside the head if it's trying to get your attention and you keep missing it. It will not miss you. You'll trip
I'm
into
going
it.
to type each step out, so we'll make it concise. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And I'll probably make a little meme thing for it after that. Okay. So the first one is focus. And this really works for a very detailed, you know what you want. So you know the kind of car that you want, right? And if you know all the details, and especially you pick orange, but it's only in red, you're not going to accept the red version of it. Right? Especially when you're learning how to detail manifest. Because if you give in because you're afraid that the real version won't show up, you're showing your subconscious mind you're not trusting. Okay. So the first one is detailed focus. Do you know it inside out, upside down, what it is? Then 2, you have to create the imaginal act. And I'm telling you, it shouldn't be more than 20, 30 seconds tops. Don't make it too complicated, but put yourself. So if you want to run your first marathon, you don't want to put yourself crossing the finish line. You want to be 5 minutes after you've crossed the finish line and all of your family's high-fiving you. That's where you want the imaginal act to be.
That's where you start in, and in the imagination is you've already
Right. You want to
achieved
be a
it.
little bit beyond the finish line of whatever it is. Right. So we wanted to manifest a hot chocolate chip cookie. So we did that the moment that you saw it, but we took it further. We went and we held it, then we bit it, then we chewed it, and then the satisfaction. Because why would you manifest a cookie just to look at it?
Right. And that also leaves open, right, how it'll show up as
Yeah, and
well.
that's what step 3 is. Step 3 is, do you believe it? Well, how has something it showed up in the past for you? Remember, direct experience first. If not
Mhm.
direct experience for you, has it happened for someone else? Even if it's somebody on TV, you know, a singer or a movie star or whatever, it doesn't have to be the person right next to you or that sort of thing. And then you can create 4 or 5 scenarios of some wild and crazy ways it could show up, which means that you're open to the logical, but you're also open to ways that it's never happened and get ridiculous, like unicorns, you know, dropping it at your feet, or really go into your imagination, because the more you go into the wild imagination, the more your subconscious wants to wow you. It wants to put you in awe, because if you're going there in your imaginal act creation, you're ready to see how crazy weird this world can be to your
Mhm.
benefit. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. So that's step 3, is, do you believe it? And when you give 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 different ways it can show up, you're not putting pressure on any one way. So you're already beginning to release. And then knowing that the how is not up to you. You just sit back and go and do your life and enjoy, because the more, if your satisfaction is joy, then the more you're in joy during the course of your normal day, the quicker it's going to show up, because you're already on the level of it.
And there's
Because
such power in knowing that it's going to happen. You share that with me. Like, I forgot what the example, because you always give great examples, but like of just knowing something. Like, I don't worry when I get out of the shower. I think I made this up, but that my towel is going to be there. I just know my towel is going to be there, and that's what this should be, right?
yeah, and that's why you'll hear me say, and it's one, everybody who knows me, is my catchphrase: when your manifestation shows up, the reaction should be, but of course.
Yeah.
Because you got the in the imaginal act creation of it already. So the wow factor that it would have been was in the nothingness. It was in the nothing, it not physically being here, but the excitement of it. So if you can stay in that energy, by the time it actually shows up, it'll be like, oh yeah, there it is. But of course, but of,
Hmm.
but of course.
All right. So what's 4?
4 is releasing the resistance. It's okay if it doesn't happen. So let's not put on all, because then you stop asking, where is it? When is it? How is it?
Hmm.
Because it's been good up until this point that it's not here, so it's not needed for survival. It's always going to be for the interaction of it. Instead of it fulfilling something that's not there, just see it as a different experience, and it takes all the pressure off it. It releases the resistance, right? So instead of going from driving a Hyundai to driving a Lamborghini, and it's like this big thing, it's just like, I want to know what that car feels like to drive. It's not a big deal. It's
Hmm.
just a different option on the menu. And then detachment is, you really don't need it. Like, acknowledge, I don't need it. I am whole right here without it. So it's not completing anything within me. I just want to have another experience. And that's why some teachers put 4 and 5 together.
Hmm. Well, we say 5 is like the bonus. The
Yeah.
bonus. Well, 4
But
and 5.
none of the steps should be skipped.
Right. Of
And
course.
then you can go in and say, that'll never happen. I'll never get a hot chocolate chip cookie, because now you know you're playing. You don't believe
Hmm.
it.
And so is that, so for some people, like, if they have these feelings, let's just say someone who wants to attract a husband, but has, let's just say, feelings of unworthiness, is that considered resistance?
Yeah, because your worthiness is in the asking. You couldn't ask for it if you weren't worthy of it. So what I would suggest then, as I always say, you can even add this as a little addendum, a good faith effort. Do you have room in your house for that significant person? Are there drawers cleaned out? Like, show your subconscious mind you need business. Like I said last week, my sister-in-law went and bought her wedding dress. Clean out, sleep on one side of the bed, not in the middle. Like, do the things that you would do as if this were real. And that's how, in your now moments, that you can say to your subconscious and your conscious, I'm not playing games here. Make room for that person like you would go. I always say this: if you want a significant person, go buy your 1-year anniversary card
Hmm.
and pour your heart out. sign it. All that's going to be needed is the name.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because I was cleaning out drawers not too long ago, and I found the card that I bought prior to meeting Kervin. Never even got to give it to him because I went and bought another one. Totally forgot about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's how nice when those things show up after the fact.
I love that. I just rediscovered that I had one of these little jewelry box things that I wrote a bunch of notes on things I wanted to manifest. And out of the 7 in there, I've manifested 5 of them. And I forgot that I totally put that in there. And it's taken a long time, but this is what I'm learning from you is how to shorten the time, because I had a lot of resistance and all, but it went to show me that desire, and when you're aligned with it, that it shows up. It's just how long does it take to get there?
Because think about this. If you want to cut time down right now, you've created it in the nothingness. It's here. And it's just as real. Invisible active is just as real as physically manifested. Yeah. So you've just made it invisible active. And that's where the satisfaction comes in. And you don't create something that you don't want to see, not anymore. And that's why you can't shout at something that's going on out there and still create a world, because they're in conflict with each other. Yeah. If you're satisfied in your creation, then you have to allow what is just to be, because it's only going to be there temporary. It's going to go very, very quickly.
Powerful. How are you all feeling out there? Let us know in the comments how that was for you. Any aha moments you had, anything that you want to share?
I can't wait to hear all the chocolate chip cookie stories that are going to come.
I'll be the first one to take a picture of it later, because I'm super femaling today, and I think I know I deserve one.
So yeah, that's it in a nutshell, folks. And the thing is, whenever I go back in and I do that, sometimes there's never a point where you're totally never going to go back into the other side of what you don't want. I just use, I call it the silly pickle technique. And when I was younger, my grandma, when I was hard on myself, she'd be like, silly pickle. You're being such a silly pickle right now. So whenever I do something and it's going against what I really want, I just silly pickle myself. I'm just such a silly pickle. And it takes all the serious. This is a fun game, guys. Life is not meant to be taken seriously. And y'all been silly pickles up until this point.
Yes. And that it makes such a difference in all of how we show up for life, is just the simplicity of it, the having more fun, even like you just said, the silly pickling of it, even just saying that is so much fun. Rich says, let me get these so we can read these clear. I'm so excited to do this process. Thank you. Robert says, I feel like I have to send someone a chocolate chip cookie right now. Birthday month.
Co-conspirators. We have co-conspirators in the house.
I always seem to manifest a lot of good things. Tammy says, my aha moment is definitely realizing I have to start kneading. Nope. Then she followed up with, I mean, stop kneading. Awesome.
Awesome stuff, guys.
Awesome.
Well, it's been my pleasure.
It's been our pleasure. It's been hopefully your pleasure to be here today. We look forward to seeing you guys next week.
So let me ask you this. Isn't nothing great? Isn't like, so now you can say thanks for nothing, right? Now that everybody who's watching this can literally say thanks for nothing, and all the nothing.
Feel free everybody to write that in the comments. And if this inspired you in any way, hit share and then in the right, thanks for nothing. Thanks for nothing.
And guys, if you haven't added me as a friend, feel free to do so. I'll be more than happy to accept your friendship here, because, well, we already are. It's just the realization of it, the manifestation of it. Yeah. How awesome is that? Awesome.
It's been a pleasure to see you all. Thank you for joining us. What?
Sherry, thanks for nothing.
Thanks for nothing.
Thanks for
nothing. Nothing. I'm going to disco it up. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys. Enjoy.